All right, let's be real. The charts are ugly. MSTR is down billions from the highs, and a lot of smart people are screaming, this is the crypto winter. And you know what? They might be right. The risk is absolutely real, and we definitely need to talk about it on today's show and dive in. But Michael Saylor, he's the guy with the most skin in the game completely, and he disagrees. He says this is just a summer storm and not an ice age. So the question is, who do you believe? Do you believe the panic, or do you believe the whale holding 714,000 of Bitcoin? And in the next 30 minutes or 20 minutes or so, I'm going to break down the winter case versus the Saylor case. But more importantly, I'm also going to show you how I am trading MSTR and Bmnr right now and picking up gains and also picking up more shares. So let's jump in and let's get into it right now. Remember, none of this is tax advice, financial advice, or legal advice. Do your own research for sure. And I'm also going to get in and show you some charts here with TradingView and Invest Answers of how I'm doing analysis of MSTR and Bmnr and how I'm trading on a daily basis. So without further ado, let's jump into the data. Winter won't last, Saylor says. He says Bitcoin spring is coming. So Bitcoin's trading around 67,400 right now. It's down from recent highs. This was the trading of it on Friday. We saw on Friday we were about 67,000, and then we shot up to 68,000, and today we're sitting at 67,400. But according to Saylor, this isn't another crypto winter. It is just a season. And in his words, spring is coming and Bitcoin is winning. So he was just interviewed on Fox recently. He says, we may be in the middle of crypto winter, but spring is coming. Bitcoin is winning. So that's his quote for now. Institutional backing is definitely different this time, is the case in point that Saylor's making. Saylor argues that this dip feels milder than previous crashes. So the acknowledgement that this is a crash. Will we go lower? We'll see. I'm going to share a little bit more later about Tom Lee and Bmnr and what Tom has to say about Bmnr as well. So institutions are now deeply involved, and this is Saylor's case in point for why this crash or this drop does not seem as bad as the previous ones. And he says that banks are building crypto credit tools, capital networks are expanding, and Wall Street participation is broader than ever. So we know that Wall Street's getting in the game. They're getting in the game with the financial rails with Ethereum. Lots of Wall Street is building on the blockchain, and there's lots of bullish news per Saylor. So he even referenced Donald Trump as politically supportive of Bitcoin, reinforcing the idea that regulatory and political winds may be shifting. So Strategy has a massive position, as we know. Saylor's company Strategy holds 714,000 Bitcoin. They have an average cost of 76,000. The current Bitcoin price is around 67,400, depending on when you're looking at it. So clearly they are underwater at this time. That's roughly $49 billion in Bitcoin holdings and against a market cap near $42 billion. So despite being underwater on their average cost, Saylor insists the balance sheet can withstand volatility. So there's been lots of talk in the news about Strategy dropping, and could it be the end of Strategy? And could it be the end of Bitcoin? And Saylor basically says, we hold 714,000 Bitcoin. He says we could withstand an 88% decline in Bitcoin's price to $8,000 and still maintain sufficient assets to fully cover our outstanding debt. If you look at their balance sheet, they've got I think $7 or $8 billion in debt. And so they have very, very low debt structure. I'll show it to you in a second. So he's not concerned about a decline. But more importantly, as a shareholder and as somebody who trades MSTR, I'm trading MSTR and Bmnr right now to pick up more shares for the future. We all need to be concerned because the price has dropped. So whether Saylor is concerned about the long term of the company, that's obviously good as a long-term investor. But in the short term, it affects shareholders, and we're all concerned. So he says that a drop to 8,000 would still leave enough Bitcoin to cover outstanding debt. So if you look at debt, Strategy, and long-term plan together, Strategy plans to convert their convertible debt into equity within about 3 to 6 years, and then continue buying Bitcoin quarterly. So if you look at their balance sheet right here, what you see is $49 billion is their Bitcoin reserve. Clearly that's dropped when the price was up around 100,000. Their Bitcoin holdings were around $70 billion. But now if you look at this still with $49 billion in Bitcoin reserves, their debt here on the screen, as you see, is about $6 billion. So they've got like an 8x amount of Bitcoin in reserves compared to their actual debt. And then if you look at an extreme decline for a strategy, if they went down 88%, meaning Bitcoin goes down 88%, their Bitcoin reserve goes to 6 billion and their net debt is 6 billion. And so it's 1x. So it's 1-to-1. So that's his whole case point for MSTR and why MSTR is still totally fine and there's no issues with potential insolvency in the future. But supporters say this reduces the short-term pressure, but you've got critics arguing that there's a lot of risk the strategy takes being invested in one asset. But anybody who knows anything about MSTR, that's why they like it, because MSTR holds Bitcoin. So what I'm going to show you right now is some charts of how I'm trading MSTR. And then I'm going to show you what Tom Lee says about Bmnr and about the bottom with Ethereum and Bmnr. So stay tuned to that. If you like this content, you can hit the like button down below. And in the meantime, right now, let's go to the charts. So if we go to the charts and we take a look here, this is how I'm trading MSTR. I'm doing the same thing with Bmnr right now. This is a combination of TradingView and Invest Answers. So if you like what you're seeing here, you need those two softwares to trade this. If you want a more extensive video to show you how I do this on the daily, you can click down below. There's a video for free. But let's get into this trading. And I've been sharing this on the channel for a while now. I've been trading Bmnr for the last 6 months, just started trading strategy. So I'm moving in and out of my positions right now. And if you look at this, this is trading on the 2-hour charts. So all I'm doing to keep this super simple is when it turns from yellow to blue, it means that MSTR is going bullish. And so if you watch this was on Thursday where it started to flash. And then Friday, the signal came through really clear on MSTR. Actually Thursday and Friday, but you see we got really in the fat zone here. So when it gets to fat blue, that's when I will typically make my moves in. This would be a fat enough blue here to some degree, but this is too skinny right here, right? It doesn't really tell me that the trend is turning. So I'll make my moves and buy back into MSTR, which I did on Friday. I sometimes trade derivatives of it too. And I'll buy back in and then I'll ride this line up. And if you see how accurate this was, we saw the price of MSTR go up to 135 or 136 on Friday. So the trading this, I move in and out of my positions. If you look at this time frame, this is Thursday, and then Monday we'll open up and see what happens. But I move in and out of my positions frequently now, every 2 to 6 days. And so this is when it tells me to sell out of MSTR, when the blue goes to yellow. And so this is a little too thin to make a move out. You could take a risk on it, but when it gets fatter yellow, this is when you sell out. And if you look at these gains, I mean, when it's telling you to get in, these gains are pretty significant. You know, if you had sold out here on MSTR, right around here, you're selling out at 129, and then you would have bought back into MSTR down here. Let's say right around this area. If you go here to the far right, 127. So you're picking up like about 1.5% making that trade, and that's in a few days. And then you're riding this 129 up, and we went up all the way to 136 on Friday. So that would have been like a nice 3 or 4% gain riding that up, and you get out. So in the short term, I'm trading MSTR to pick up more shares and gains. That's always the goal. And you see how clean these charts are right now. So if you want more of this, you can go down below. There's a video that's very extensive, how I do it on the daily basis. This is how I do it on the weekly basis. But it's been super, super helpful to learn this of what to do during down times and during what could be a crypto winter time. All right. I'll show you how I do it with Bmnr in just a moment here, but I want to get on with what's happening here in the marketplace. And we'll touch a little bit more on MSTR, and then we're going to transition to Bmnr because Tom Lee just spoke in Hong Kong and he has really good data of what he just reported on that. Okay. So either way, if you take a look at his strategy, they think the bet is pretty clear on what's going to happen. Saylor thinks we're just kind of in a temporary winter here and that the future looks bright. So is this cycle different right now that we're in? Saylor compares today's pullback to deeper historical crashes, implying that this one is milder. So his new position on this is that we're kind of in a mild crash compared to previous crashes that have taken place. If you look at the drawdown on Bitcoin, down over 50%. We've had previous crashes down to 87%. Now, that doesn't mean that we can't move lower on Bitcoin. We touched 65 the other day. If we breach 65 and we go below it, I think we'll touch 60. If we touch lower 60s, we could go into the 50s. So I'm still getting prepared for that, which is why I'm trading right now. But I think in the long term, obviously, MSTR and Bmnr are definitely freaking hot picks. And for me, the future is MSTR and BMNR. So markets are going to decide what's going to happen. So what could shift the momentum? We can take a look at this. We need institutional inflow acceleration. We know that the institutions are buying. We're seeing some buying from institutions for sure. Changes in lending policies could also make a difference. Regulatory clarity, we're getting clarity with the Clarity Act, and then macro liquidity returning. If the Fed is dovish, then that's a good thing because we have more liquidity in the marketplace. We've seen recently that the Fed talked in their notes of the meeting that they just released in mid-February from the meeting they had in January 28th. They were kind of hawkish in the notes of the meeting, saying that if inflation goes up, they could be increasing interest rates. We want lower interest rates, and that's what would help liquidity return to the marketplace, which is good for Bitcoin. So Bitcoin may feel cold right now, but Saylor's message is simple. Winter doesn't last forever. So clearly he's playing the long game. And with MSTR and BMNR, my viewpoint on it is absolutely 100% the long game, but I'm also trading in the short term because if we're going to sit in this kind of in-between range, I want to benefit from it. All right. So Bitcoin's winter debate is about macro cycles and long-term conviction, Saylor says. Now we're going to jump into Ethereum. I'm also going to show you how I'm looking at the charts with Ethereum right now. Ethereum's facing the deeper question, is this pain, capitulation, or opportunity for Ethereum? So it struggles below 2,000 right now with Ethereum. And Bitmine sees a rebound. Tom Lee was talking recently in Hong Kong, and he was talking about the potential rebound that could happen with BMNR. He thinks that we've touched a low. He thinks that 1890 is the low. He has Tom DeMark, which is one of the great predictors of bottom cycles, and he's got him on the payroll. And he's also said that 1890, we could touch it again. If we touch 1890 again, that would kind of be like we hit 1890, we go down again, and then we would have a great recovery from there. So it's not that we can't go down to 1890 again. We're at 1940 right now. We could go lower than that. But here's some of the things that Tom Lee says about MSTR and BMNR. They are clearly the top DATs. So they're digital asset treasury companies. Digital asset treasury companies are companies that hold digital assets on their balance sheet. BMNR is 5 times larger than the next largest DAT. So if you look at that, it's got 14 times more trading volume. Institutions like that. They like the liquidity of it. And so it's got 14 times more trading volume than its next largest DAT that's next in line to it. And he says a properly structured DAT like BMNR, which holds Ethereum on its balance sheet, will outperform Ethereum. And his whole goal is to maximize yield on treasury. So this is what he was saying at the Hong Kong meeting, is he wants to maximize the yield on his treasury through staking. So if you look at their current ETH that's staked right now, they have 2/3 of their ETH that is actually staked. And with 2/3 of their ETH staked, that's $300 million a year. If they have all of their ETH staked, it's going to be $300 million a year of revenue coming in and income coming into BMNR. So that's big. That's almost $1 million a day. So if ETH gets to $12,000, his whole viewpoint on this from Tom Lee is we get ETH to $12,000. That means that's $2.4 billion in staking income. Now, obviously, we're a long cry from $12,000. That's a 6x from now. But if you look into the future and you look 4, 5, 6 years into the future, I don't think that's a long cry to look at ETH from that perspective. And then if you look at ETH, BMNR, what makes them different, they have these different moonshots. We know that they have their investment in Orbs. They also have their investment in Beast Industries. And there's something interesting that he was talking about in relation to Beast Industries, is that Beast Industries is actually, they announced that they're buying a bank. So when you look at the history, and this is Tom Lee's talk that he gave recently in Hong Kong, if you look at the history and you look at the generations that have subscribed to like different platforms and different banks, and what are the banks of like our different times and our time periods, way back, decades and decades ago, it was Schwab. And that was a whole different generation of people. Then if you look at the millennials and you take a look at what the millennials got into, we had Robinhood and we had SoFi. And so those became the really hot things. But now if you look at Gen Z and Gen Alpha, Mr. Beast is creating a new financial world for them. So they announced that they're buying a bank, which is super fascinating. So the entire financial industry as we know it is starting to change. We know that institutions are getting into crypto. We know that people like Mr. Beast, who have 1 billion subscribers, that BMNR invested in that company, put $200 million in that company. That's what they call a moonshot. So we have companies like Beast Industries that are now getting into the financial game. Why? Because they have 1 billion subscribers. 1 in 3 people on the internet, if you look at Facebook and Instagram, it's about 3 billion people. So he's got 1 billion of those subscribers, or those people that are active on the internet. So he's creating an entirely new banking system is the goal. And as they go do that, they're going to pick up the younger generation. So Bmnr making this move to invest in Beast Industries is super smart. And the reason why it's super smart is because Bmnr is now linking themselves up with the younger generation. And if you look at most people who are invested in Bmnr right now, it's people who are older, 40s, 50s, maybe 60s. Now you get the younger generation aware of crypto more, aware of Bmnr more, and digital asset treasury companies through Beast Industries, which Bmnr is aligned with. And you have a whole different future of people that are going to be investing their money differently than our grandfathers or fathers in Schwab. And then the next generation in Robinhood. There's a whole new game coming down the pike, and the entire financial industry as we know it is changing. And that's why the future of Bmnr and the future of MSTR, I believe, are sound. Now, none of this is tax advice, financial advice, or legal advice, but I just believe in the future of where it's going because it's written. You know, Wayne Gretzky, if we're speaking about Schwab in the 80s, Wayne Gretzky, totally unrelated to Schwab, but metaphorically said, skate to where the puck is going, not where the puck is at. The puck is no longer, you know, in these previous generations. The puck is in the younger generation's hands. And that's the people who are the digital creators of today. That's the people who are online today. That's the people who are born with iPhones in their pockets. You capture that segment of the population and you get them financially grooved into a new ecosystem like Beast Industries is doing, connected with Bmnr, and you have a whole new financial world. The financial institutions are seeing this. That's why, you know, networks like ETH are still, in terms of their infrastructure, are stronger than ever. Their price sucks right now. I'm going to mention what the price is right now and where the future might be headed with this. But it's why the next 10, 15 years that Tom Lee was talking about at the Hong Kong conference, the next 10 to 15 years is super sound, because that's where the puck is going. And there's just no debating that. It's just where it's going. There's also no debating that we're in a crypto winter right now, and it sucks. And so I'm acknowledging the fact that it's crap right now, but the future is solid. And if you take a look at where the future is going, that's where Wall Street's going. AI is going onto the blockchain as well. And that's where the creators are building. The creators are going to start building on the blockchain. So the future is where it's going to go. If you look at the potential, the future of finance is going to where crypto is going, and going to the blockchain. But if you look at potential of where Bmnr could be in the future, one day if you see Ethereum go to $12,000 and then eventually $22,000, which is what Tom Lee's talking about, and we're talking about years into the future, that's where Bmnr price point at 22K ETH could be about $500. So we're sitting on a $20 freaking Bmnr right now, which is so far from that, but you also got to look into the future. Now, I'm not blind, so I'm not immune to the fact that we are in a situation right now where Bmnr is down. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing with Bmnr, just like I showed you what I'm doing with MSTR, because I'm trading Bmnr right now. And the way I'm doing it is on the 2-hour charts. So if you see right here, there was a great entry point for Bmnr on Friday, where you could have gotten in here. The signals were flashing to get into Bmnr right around $19.92. And we know that it shot up and it went up to like 2040 on Friday. So that would have been a 2% gain. And so Bmnr's charts on the 2 hours are super clean. So if you ever want to do technical analysis to see what's happening in the short term, these charts with Invest Answers and Trading View are super accurate. It also tells you when to get out. So when the blue goes to yellow here, this is at $20.50. It says get out of Bmnr. And so this is how I'm trading. I'm getting in and out. I picked up a lot of gains on trading Bmnr this past week. And I got out at the right time. And so it says to get out when I was at like $20.50. And then you would have gotten back in around here when it's around $19.93. So that's a way to pick up more shares. You sell high, buy back low. It's not a new concept to people at all. But if you look at these charts, it's so super clear what to do. You don't get faked out by these because it's not fat enough. So when the blue line is not fat enough and it's not for a long enough time period here, this is just 4 hours, you don't pay attention. You just skip over those and you wait for a fat blue line to get in. So listen, I've been studying this chart in particular for the last 3 months. I've been trading Bmnr for 6 months, but this 2-hour chart is freaking incredible on Bmnr right now. Look how clean these lines are. I told you to buy down here. Look at this, right? If you bought down here at $18, this is $18.50 is when I told you to buy. It's another perfect buying opportunity. And then it would have told you to get out here when it could stick on the yellow over here. Blue, you buy in. Yellow, you get out here. And you look at that, you would have gotten out at $20.60. So if you've been watching my channel, I've been showing you what I'm doing in the short term just to show you that I am trading these positions. So I'm in and out of these positions. But, you know, this would have been a huge gain right there. And there's so many gains to be made in the short term right now with all of this. However, getting back to the long term, if you want more info on trading, click down below and you can go grab my video for free. It's totally 100% free. My book down below is free. You can snag that as well. And if you don't want anything to do with trading, just like the channel because it helps us get more good content out to the world. All right. So let's talk about Ethereum price point right now. Ethereum struggles below $2,000. So let's take a look. ETH trading below 2,000. The downtrend has stretched into February 2026. So you look at the price right now of ETH. It's somewhere around this price point. This is where it was on Friday. Right now it's sitting at 1950, so not much difference. And most holders are underwater. So this is an important thing to look at. Even though Bmnr remains very bullish, what are they seeing right now? So realized price signals deep pain. So what does that actually mean? So this is pointed to research from Fundstrat highlighting Ethereum's realized price, which is the average cost basis of all coins in circulation. So when you look at it, it basically means this in simple terms. The realized price is 2,241. That's what people bought in at. The current ETH price is about 1934 in this chart, but it's really 1950 today. And so when you look how underwater people are, they're from the average price that people have bought in at and are holding coins at, they're negative 22%. So they're underwater by 22%. And that's what this chart shows if you showed it to the far right. Okay. Now, if you look here, that puts the average holder down roughly 22%, which sucks. We're all feeling that right now. Again, whatever I talk about the future, I'm still super bullish on Bmnr and MSTR and Ethereum and Bitcoin. But whatever I talk about, I'm acknowledging the fact that right now sucks. All right. I'm not trying to sugarcoat it. So when ETH trades this far below realized price, it's near extreme drawdown territory. So what does that actually mean? Current conditions fall into the 9th decile of historical pain. So decile is basically groups of 10. So if you look at like groups of 10 of historical ETH drawdowns, like the 9th position would be like, it's almost the worst, right? So you look in the past out of a group of 10, it's like the 9th position is like one step closer to the worst. But when we've seen those drawdowns before, when you're that low of a drawdown, that's why Tom DeMark and that's why Bmnr's research thinks that we're at the bottom now, or we're close to the bottom. Doesn't mean we won't touch a little bit lower now, but we're close to the bottom. And so with that, here's what stands out. Basically what they're saying is that if you look at this chart very carefully, the price change in February 5th, 2026, look at the lower left. And hopefully I'm sharing this on my screen right now because I'm going to feel like a yo-yo if I'm not. But if you look, I am. So if you look at the lower left, February 5th, 2026, and you look at that, what you're basically seeing is 22% drawdown. So in February, we're negative 22%. If you look at basically the chart I just showed you before this. Now, the median forward return means that in about 6 months, if you look at like the times we're in kind of the 9th decile position, really like the worst position, which means that's the position we've been in recently. We're so like far down. The times where we're in this position, the 9th position, which is one from the bottom, if you averaged out all those times historically, and you looked at kind of where the price went 6 months from then or 12 months from then, 6 month period, it went up 17%, and 12 months, 81%. So if you look into the future, it looks like ETH is going to recover in the next 6 months to 12 months, potentially with positive gains. And the likelihood of that happening, if you look to the far right here, is 87% likelihood that that's actually going to happen when you see high win ratio. Now, again, this is just based on historical data. We can look into the future, and who knows? We could also sit here for the next 12 months chopping sideways and have no recovery. I'm giving you data based on what's presented, based on good research that's been done, but we all know that the majority of experts, 99% of them, or 99.9, were wrong in October, November, December. So take it with a grain of salt. I'm just trying to give you good data, and I hope the good data helps you, okay? So there is that. And we're going to go more into the next step here. Okay. So, so this level of pain basically precedes strong rebounds historically. So you have history of sharp drops, and then you have V-shaped recoveries that take place. So Tom Lee has emphasized this. He says since 2018, Ethereum has experienced 8 separate 50% drawdowns. So this is not like now, I think we're at a 64% drawdown right now, but we've had 8 separate 50% drawdowns. So this is not uncommon to ETH. I mean, again, I've been invested in Bitcoin since 2018. So I've been watching this and seeing this for years and years now. So I'm no stranger to this, seeing this happen with ETH or seeing this happen with Bitcoin. Where it gets unsettling is with MSTR and Bmnr, because when they move up and Bitcoin moves up, it's a rocket ship for MSTR. And when ETH moves up, it's a rocket ship for Bmnr. When they move down, it's a disaster. And so that's why in the short term, it's a lot of suffering for people. Okay. So here's what the Cody says on Bmnr. ETH has done this 8 times before. Brutal dips, 50% dips, and then perfect V-shaped recoveries, meaning down like a V and then up. Massive pumps after. So history says this is the number 9 incoming. We shall see. So let's see what happens, right? ETH fell 64% between January and March in 2025 before staging a major rebound. So we've seen this before in 2025 as well. And we all know that volatility is not new. It's that volatility has historically created opportunity in the past. So there's a $7 billion bet on a rebound. And here's where it gets kind of serious. Bitmine's sitting on roughly $7 billion in unrealized losses. If you look at Strategy, they're also sitting on unrealized losses as well. But instead of reducing exposure, what are they doing? They're accumulating. And we see more and more institutions that are also buying Bmnr right now. So if we are at a bottom, there's definitely some people that think we may be at a bottom because institutions are accumulating, some of them. Bmnr still continues to accumulate Ethereum, and MSTR continues to accumulate Bitcoin. So we know that structurally the infrastructure of crypto and the blockchain is super, super, super sound. We just don't know where the bottom is going to be, but this research indicates that we're getting close to a bottom and we may rebound. So here's the unrealized losses on Ethereum's holdings. If you look over to the right and you look at the red or the orangish or whatever color that is, or the pinkish, that's where you see the unrealized loss there. Recent purchases for Bmnr to show that they're buying 10,000 of ETH. They bought from Kraken recently, 20,000 of ETH from BitGo, 15,000 of ETH from FalconX. So they continue to buy. And it's not defensive positioning at all, it's conviction. So again, long-term conviction high because these institutions keep buying. And there's only really 2 in the game right now. You got 2 major DATs. You got MSTR and you got Bmnr. They're literally 90% of the trading volume for all DATs. That's where the institutions are going. So is this the bottom? History suggests extreme drawdowns often mark major opportunity zones. So confirmation requires a couple things to happen to determine whether this is the bottom. Some stabilizing price action. We need to see that. We're not quite seeing that for Ethereum right now. I'm not quite seeing it for Bitcoin. Improving flows. We need more flows coming into the ETFs for sure. And we need some broader market confidence. Obviously, the confidence has been crapola recently with extreme fear. So ETH remains under pressure, but if history rhymes, this compression could become the turning point. We shall see, right? So if you look at ETH, it looks weak on the surface, but beneath it, some of the biggest players are betting that the next move is up, and we shall see. So none of this changes the infrastructure of Ethereum. We still have large institutions that are continuing to build on Ethereum. We have more and more institutions getting in the game. We have more and more regulation coming in place in the industry, and this is a good thing. So overall, future looks bright. In the short term, it is definitely pain, and like I don't want to sugarcoat it. You know, I can sit here and eat crow and acknowledge that I thought October, November, December were going to be up, and it was not, and so I was completely wrong on that. But in the short term, I wanted to show you some things that I am doing, and hopefully there's some things you can learn from it and take from it, which is doing a little bit of trading with Bmnr and MSTR to pick up more gains. So if you want access to my trading philosophy, you can go down below. There's a whole video that goes into detail on it. If you need to get access to this software, it's TradingView and Invest Answers. I have no affiliate relationship with them. I'm just recommending them from the perspective of good companies and good people. I definitely know good people. James is good people. I don't know anybody at TradingView, but I know their tech is good. So there you have it. I hope all of this serves you. I hope you're holding strong and doing well in terms of just, your confidence during the winter. What you choose to do with your investments is up to you, but I wanted to share with you the things that I'm doing. I'm definitely trading MSTR and Bmnr. I'm going in and out of it. And my long-term play is to pick up more shares in the short term and then in the long term hold so that I can continue to get the upside of these stocks as they recover into the future, which is my point of view. So I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a great Sunday. If you like the channel, you can actually just hit the like button. It definitely helps with engagement so we can get more people and get the message out to more people. All right. And if you want my book, Money Game, you can snag that down below. If you want to read more about Bmnr, MSTR, Ethereum, that book is down below. It's here. And that comes with my my trading video for free as well. So I hope you have a great day. I hope you're hanging tough through the tough times. And I really hope that 2026 ends in a prosperous way for Bitcoin, Ethereum, MSTR, Bmnr, and you. Stay well. Have a great rest of the day. And I appreciate you guys always tuning in. You're awesome.